Good morning, friends, and welcome to The Sacred View. I'm so excited for you to meet my good friend, Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, everybody.
And to tell you about Suzanne and her interesting story that you're going to love. So, Suzanne and I have known each other for several years. We first met when we were working together to help a little child be adopted. And though we haven't spent that much time physically together, I feel like we're emotionally and birds of a feather, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm going to read you. The first thing I'm going to do is read something that Suzanne wrote that will kind of start you out. Suzanne writes, "Some days I feel like a radio station, stuck between stations, living in the static of a life pulled in two directions. On the best days, I feel like a link in a golden chain of women throughout history who have used the tools at their disposal to love just a little bit more and shine just a little bit brighter." I love that, Suzanne. It's very poetic. And I know a lot of our listeners are saying, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm stuck between two stations in that static. And I'd like to now show everyone with this beautiful map. And David will put that up on the screen about how Suzanne took that being stuck in the static to now blessing others with her Ladies Who Lunch. Now tell us all about that. And then we're gonna get back to why it started, but tell us what Ladies Who Lunch is.
Ladies Who Lunch is, it started in September of last year. My daughter, who's 21, Jane called me and said, "Mom, I'm so upset." And we were talking about whatever the outrage of the day was. And she was just like, "It just breaks my heart." She was like, "Let's go make some lunch and feed some people tomorrow. Like, I need to just do something."
Don't you love Jane's heart? Now that didn't come by accident, did it? And that
we didn't just wake up one morning and decide.
I don't wake up one morning like, let's go feed some people. Okay. And then that turned into Ladies Who Lunch. Right. By the
go ahead.
Well, by the map, everyone can see all of the little, because you call it shine on, right? To use the sunshine symbol, which I love that. What do all these little stars across or sunlights across the states mean?
Those are all people who have reached out and either contributed financially or have given us consistent verbal encouragement, like follow the journey with us that maybe can't financially. And there are also people who are doing things in their own communities that were like, yes, I want to do something too. Like, and then there are people who have shining their lights in their own communities and they tell us about it, and so we get to know about all of these lights that are shining just all over the country.
And I see some sunshine in Alaska, which you don't think about the sunshine, do we? Right. Is that Hawaii?
That one's Hawaii. Yeah.
I need the glasses. But I'm sure there's sunshine in Alaska too.
I'm sure there is.
They're all across the United States. Now, tell us what Ladies Who Lunch do. What exactly are you doing?
Well, it has morphed over the last several months because one of the things that we decided up front after that first day was like, we want this to be sustainable. We don't want this to be like a one-time event that we go out and do and make ourselves feel better and then don't do it again because it's a lot of work. And so for several months, like into December, we made lunch every week. We would go, plan and go grocery shopping and cook together and things because those were things Jane missed. She moved out of our house several years ago and like she always says she misses that. She misses the grocery shopping and the meal planning and things like that. So this is an opportunity for us to do that together. And then we would get together early Thursday morning and cook and pack it all up and load up the car and drive around and look for people who wanted lunch.
Now, did you have a set list of people that you would take it to? Did you know their names and addresses?
Not at first. So Jane lives downtown in our city. And one of the things that we have seen over the last several years as housing has been less and less accessible for people as we've had more and more homeless people.
Yes. And that's all across the U.S., not just where you
Right. Right. And so it's something that it's problematic in cities. Like we're fully cognizant of that, and it's something that people complain about a lot. And my thing is like, where would you like them to go? Like, I understand that it can be scary, it can be messy, like it's very foreign to most of us. Like we don't really understand what it takes to get there. And there are a lot of stories. There are stories around about what we think it might take to get there that aren't necessarily true and some things like that. But that's one of those things that it was like when Jesus said, whatever you did unto the least of these, you did for me. And so that was just anyway, so Jane lives downtown, and anyone who's familiar with their closest big city, like where people congregate, where people hang out. And for a lot of people, that's the places that you avoid. Right.
Right.
And so we would just drive into those places and throw up in the trunk. It's so much fun. We just throw in the trunk. And everybody, like we're concerned about their dignity and their safety as well. And so if a car drives up into your space, because essentially this is people's living rooms. Right. And, if a car drives up into your space that you've never seen before, what are they going to do?
What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jane would lean her head out the window and be like, hey, friends, you want some lunch?
Bless her.
And then we would just throw open the trunk and it was full of like drinks and water and lunch and harm reduction supplies and, whatever was seasonal at the time and whatever there seemed to be the most need for. And we would just hand them out and we would talk to people. We prayed with people, lots of hugs. And a lot of what we saw is a community that takes care of each other. And so a lot of times it would be like, my friend can't walk. Is it okay if I take an extra meal for them?
Oh.
And we're like, yeah, absolutely. Do you need two?
Right. Yeah.
So everybody gets lunch. That we don't qualify. You need 2 lunches today, you get 2 lunches, with it.
Right. And these lunches, I want the viewers, we'll show you a picture of Jane and Suzanne in front of the lunches that they pack. They're nutritious, healthy. It's not just packaged food, right?
Yes. That was our other goal with this was everybody gets lunch and we don't want to feed people stuff that we wouldn't eat. So it's a lot of our favorite family recipes and the whole thing was the whole point of it is to help people in our community who are generally unseen or overlooked. Mm-hmm. To just have that moment where somebody sees them as a human being made in God's image and meets their immediate needs to their face, whatever that is. And sometimes, sometimes it's to go away and leave them alone, and sometimes it's to just give them a lunch and send them on their way. And sometimes it's a long conversation where they would tell us their whole story and, it's like people everywhere,
Right. Right. Well, that verse says even just a cup of cold water, but you give them lasagna and meatloaf and wonderful, nutritious hot food, which they're not getting. Correct.
Which we would hear that, and we would try to include fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
That's not something. Even shelter meals, and this is not to knock shelter meal. I've worked in plenty of shelter meal programs, but there's a budgetary restraint, and there's a quantity restraint, and so a lot of times that food is it's serviceable. It's like cafeteria food, right? It fills your belly and people are grateful for it. It's not that people are ungrateful. It's just that what does it feel like? Hey, this is my mom's meatloaf recipe.
Oh, oh,
You know, like, or one time we did, I used a bunch of eggs from, we did breakfast for lunch, and I used a ton of eggs from my chickens, and I had vegetables from my garden. And, and besides the fact that that is, it helps cut costs a little bit, it was exciting to be able to share that. Like, these are, hey, my chickens donated the eggs for this today, and people were thrilled. And they would and like we would hear stories about, oh, back when I had a home, I used to garden, or my mom used to garden, or I grew up on a farm, or just all kinds of stuff that, like, it just is these avenues for conversation and feeling like a person.
And you're giving them quality food with a smile and a prayer. I love that you have a prayer with them if they want. And just, it's not just a handout. It's more, it's a community. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Were you raised this way, Suzanne?
Yes and no. My parents were very devoted to the Lord. They were converted in their late teens, early 20s, and changed their lives, like, completely from what they knew growing up. And so they were cycle breakers.
Good.
And I got the benefit of that,
Yes.
And so they took their faith was just their life, and that was our life. And so, like, that, my dad used to tell a story about how he was flying someplace, and he looked down and he sees all these houses, and he's like, those are all full of souls.
That's exactly right.
And who's reaching those souls?
Yeah.
Like, and that was what prompted him, actually, them to start looking into moving to work overseas and some things like that. And so I went to high school in China and Hong Kong and Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
And
combination, Florida, China.
The biggest, this always surprises people, but the biggest culture shock I have ever felt was moving to Tampa, Florida. It wasn't moving to Hong Kong. It wasn't, it was. And so, and it was just like, people are made in God's image and we love them. And so I grew up with they were extremely hospitable, and my dad never met a stranger. I mean, he got pulled over for having a light out on the way home from worship one day. And he ended up converting the police officer who pulled him over.
No kidding. Wow.
Like, that was just, that was just how he rolled. He was like, this is good news. I want to tell everybody, and he did. And
he and Bernice did from another episode. Those of you who've listened to the Bernice, he and Bernice would have gotten along very well, wouldn't they?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. And so that was just, and my mom was a teacher. And so she had a heart and skill with children, especially, but and they were just a team, and he was a full-time preacher. And so we just grew up with people at our dinner table. Like, that was just, people would drop in, or, if somebody came and visited, they got to come home and eat with us, and if someone was having a hard time, they came to our house, and if they needed to spend the night, they spent the night. If we needed to take their kids for a few weeks, we took their kids for a few weeks, and that was just life. Like, there wasn't a lot of, like, look at what we're doing, it was just like,
it was just the rhythm of your life, that you knew there was always a place at the table, and there was always a bed. There was always for that. And little did they know, but they were training you for what you would do in the 21st century here. And I know that when you got married, you have 2 children, Joe and Jane, right?
Correct.
And I'm going to show the viewers some pictures of how you were training them in the same way, but to a different level. And I'm going to show them right now the boxes, the FLP boxes. Tell us what that is.
Oh, those are free little pantries.
Free little pantry.
People might be familiar with like the free little libraries that you see around.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar, except it's non-perishable food items and hygiene items and things like that to share with your neighbors. And they're all, and there's, I believe it's a national organization, freelittlepantry.org.
Oh, that's great to know.
Yeah. And so you can, there's a map and you can look them up near you or whatever. And there's a Facebook group in our city that's like Friends of Free Little Pantries. And it's just a sort of a group where it's like, hey, I filled this one and this one is new. And, you know, and it's a great way to meet a lot of like-minded people.
And it's a great way for maybe a family, maybe a young mother wants to train their children this way, but they wouldn't go down to where the homeless are, but they could go to these little pantries. And you sent me a really cute picture of the kids filling the boxes.
Yes. And that is, I think that's key, especially doing it with children, is your first priority is them and their safety. And I think children are a lot safer than sometimes. I don't know what it's like to raise small children now. I'm grateful I'm not right now. But I know that like when mine were little, there was we were just becoming aware of like online danger and, you know, all kinds. And so there was a lot of that sort of like keeping your kids very safe and protected. And I do believe, yeah, we should keep our kids safe. But I think that they are more, we need to trust God to keep them safe too. And so if we do what God asks us to do, then I believe he'll keep us safe. And sometimes the way he kept his disciples safe that we read about in scripture is he took them home. Like, I would not wish that on my kids, but like that's the reality of living for Christ.
But we can't put them in bubble wrap. And I was raised the same way. You're going to see that. And it wasn't like, see what they don't have and what you have. That wasn't it. It was see what we need to share with what we have because they don't have. And that was very, really stamped an image on my life. And especially like going to the hospitals and seeing people, going to funerals, all of those things. You know, I've met adult people in their 40s who have never even been to one funeral. And so when a loved one's died, they're at a loss. So that's all part of raising children, don't you think, Suzanne?
Yeah, I think, and that was, in terms of the action that we took, it was to be able to like help them make sense of the world that they actually lived in, you know, and to do it at a level that was age appropriate for them at each space. So like the little free pantries are perfect because sometimes it means that you're going to drive, like with little kids, you're going to drive into a neighborhood that you wouldn't necessarily stop in normally, you know?
Sure.
And they can still, you know, these are in people's yards. These are people who have offered to like host these pantries in their yards. And so we talk, I mean, even my grown kids, we talk about that. Like they built this structure so that they can feed their neighbors. Like this is, you know, this is awesome. like,
and the pictures the pictures that you sent showed how respectful people are of them. It's not like graffiti on them and everything is swiped out. People truly are just taking what they need.
Right. And leaving what they can as well. And that's one of the things that I love about this work is you see people who have not much or close to nothing looking for ways to share with their neighbors because they know what it feels like to go without. And like I think that's really, really important to like recognize, you know, as that that this isn't out of our abundance that we do this, that this is out of our hearts. And God provides the abundance.
He does every time. Every time.
And so that, but the little free pantries, I mean, it's amazing because, and sometimes the other pantry stewards were like, I stopped by and there are only 3 meal kits left. Like we would have just filled it at noon and put 10 in, and 7 families got fed that day because people stopped by. And it's a very low barrier. Like you don't have to explain to anybody why you need the food. You don't have to, you can just
fill out any forms.
Right. You just take what you need, and we really like that model, is that I feel like we all need help sometimes. Like we're all in this together, and and I think a lot of times what stops us from moving forward or making changes in our lives is we're afraid to ask for help because we're supposed to have this all figured out already or something.
Which we don't. Now, when I first started working with you, Suzanne, you were in a phase that I thought was fascinating, where you were getting donations and collecting socks for the homeless, and that was during Thanksgiving, right? And the progression that you went from going, was it Bob Meyer's store, which is a big store on the West Coast, and trying to get their Black Friday sales on the socks. And then that morphed into going right to the manufacturers, correct?
Yes, because that's one of the things that, like, I am constantly just blessed and overwhelmed by, is that if we put the word out there, we always get way more than we expected,
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, I am kind of like, oh, maybe a few people would like to do this with us. And then I remember it was the same as with Ladies Who Lunches that day. The first day that we went out, Jane was like, I don't know, maybe post some pictures. This made us feel so good. Maybe we could share this with other people. And it's the same with the socks and the sleeping bags and all of it, that this is exciting and fun for us. And maybe someone else wants to do this too. And without, like, the first day of Ladies, the next day I was like, Jane, we've gotten so many donations. We can continue this into next year.
Wow.
And because there were people that were just so happy to have something to do.
Yeah. Yes. You want to do, but you got to give them a platform and tell them why socks are such a basic necessity for homeless.
Oh, wow. Socks are like gold in the unhoused community. They, for one thing, if you don't have access to laundry and your socks get nasty, there's not a lot you can do with them. And so they tend to be more on the disposable side. Some of the worst health issues that I have seen among our unhoused population are foot problems, because they are on their feet all the time. They're cold and wet, and, not a lot of medical care happening, things like that. And I do know some people who go out and, like, actually treat people's feet, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Wow.
I'm better with collecting socks.
Yeah. I think so too.
And I think that's part of it. Like, their lunch is to help treat people's feet. It doesn't bother them, right? Like, and that's something they have to offer. For me, it's like, well, that's not really my wheelhouse. But people use socks for, like, gloves and mittens. Sometimes people use them for change purses or to keep valuable things in and, like, stick them inside their coats or in their pants. People use them, women use them as sanitary pads.
When you told me that, I was just really deeply moved, because what do you do?
I mean, you got to do something, right? And so, and it is the number one most asked for item among the unhoused community is socks, because you got to have clean socks.
I know.
And so we hand out socks still. And like, that's part of our harm reduction gear is we have Goodwill socks and we have hats and gloves and, socks we do year round because you always need socks. And I think that is part of like going back to having little kids at home. In my early 20s, before I got married, I was at that point where, I think a lot of people go through this where you're making your faith your own.
Yeah.
And in your early 20s, sometimes the steps that you take to explore to do that are not very faithful. Like if you grow up in a certain environment and you think, what's out there? And
right.
So I was at a point in my life where I was tasting what the world had to offer and I was not satisfied with it, obviously. And I was like, I need to know, like, because I didn't want to just go back to church, because the institution of it, like there were things that I questioned about it and there were things that that I wanted to explore and that I wanted to know better. And I was like, the reason we go to church is to worship God and like the way, so I want to know who he is. And when he decided to be a human in Jesus, what did he do? And so I read through the Gospels and I was like, this is Jesus showing us how to live, like what it's like to be a human. And that really, at a time in my life when I was, making big decisions about my life, like that was really impactful to me. And it was like, literally, what would Jesus do? And if you've ever gotten into a point in your life where you've made a series of unwise decisions, you get to where you kind of like, I don't trust myself to make good decisions here. And so that was what I was like, but I do trust Jesus. And so I'll just do what he does. And so I quit my job where I was and I took a job working with Alzheimer's and dementia patients in a care center.
That's rough stuff.
And I loved it so much. Loved it so much. Because I wasn't fixing their Alzheimer's. I wasn't their family. But I could fill this gap that their families couldn't because I met them where they were. Because when I met them, they had already, anyway. And so that really informed, I was like, you can do this with everybody. You just meet people where they are.
That's right.
And
where they are.
and I don't have to solve all their problems.
No, you don't.
I can just show them some love. And let them know that God loves them and that they are loved.
With the lasagna.
Yeah. And who doesn't? Well, I don't love lasagna. That's the deep dark secret. Most people love lasagna.
But it's good, fresh, warm food. You can do that.
Right.
And what you're patterning for your kids as they grow older. I'd like for you to talk about, we're going to show a picture of where you had Joe and Jane living in a tree. Tell us about that.
I didn't do that. Yeah. So by the time we had kids, I was like, I want them to learn to love Jesus. And so we had basically like 3 rules in our house. You don't hurt other people, you don't hurt yourself, and you don't hurt God. And because I couldn't keep track of a whole bunch of individual rules. And that along with that was like, everyone you meet is made in God's image. That we were living in the city. And so we were on the bus and walking down the sidewalks and things like that. And so they would see, all kinds of people all day, every day. And they're paying attention to the world around them and they would ask questions. And so we would talk about it a lot. Like, this is our neighbor. Like, and this, this neighbor's having a hard day, or this neighbor, doesn't have a home, or this neighbor needs a ride somewhere, or whatever. And so that was, they just sort of grew up with that sort of, and, I don't know, moms of young children, the grocery store, right? Like the grocery store it's legendary, right? Like you're trying to get in and get out, and the kids are bored and whiny and trying to
meltdowns,
trying to get you to buy Pop-Tarts, whatever it is. And when mine started to get big enough, I was like, I don't want to fight. We need to eat, and eating needs to be peaceful, and all of the things around eating need to be peaceful. So this is just part of life. Like, yeah, it's boring sometimes. And yeah, you're grouchy sometimes. And so when they were tiny, what I would do, I'd be like, all right, here, I would sometimes give them a list, like a scavenger hunt sort of list. And then, but every time I would tell them, what I really need you to do is look out for somebody who needs some help.
That's a great tip. Do you hear that, listeners? Wherever you go, look out for someone who needs help. I love that, Suzanne. Thank you.
Yeah. And it works wonders because then they're on it, right?
Right.
Like they just
we've got a mission.
Yeah. And they would, like, oh, that lady needs help reaching that thing up high. This person needs to go in front of us because their kid is melting down. Or, like. And sometimes what my kids would do was talk to other kids, like at the grocery store, and trying to get them not to melt down, and things like that. It was just that these are all people we're walking through life with, and everybody needs help sometime. So look for somebody. And I would point out too, because a mom with two busy kids needs help sometimes in public as well,
Always. Always.
And I would make sure to point that out to them too. Like, that was so kind of that person to help us. They were such a good neighbor, just because I can manage to get myself into all kinds of stuff. But, and so that was that. And from the time they were literally born, I would talk to them nonstop, like their rocking time, their, tummy time, all of that was like, God made you in his image. He made all of us in his image.
Right.
And you're here to love. Like, you're here to shine your light to everybody. And
which is why Suzanne's daughter, Jane, came to her and said, I'm having a bad day. I need to feed somebody. That was so ingrained in Jane's heart that she saw that's the outlet. I don't need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to give. I need to feed. And that's so beautiful. And that's the fruition of this pattern that you gave them as you were parenting them along. And it was just a part of your life, right, Suzanne?
Yeah.
It was very okay. Now it's noon. We're going to have this study on how to help people. It's like, it was the fabric of your life.
Yes, because I took, Deuteronomy 6, very, very literally, like, talk to them when you rise up, when you're walking along, because I don't mean this disparagingly, because we had family Bible studies as well. But I don't know, growing up, like, my parents were the same. We just lived it all. But every now and then it would be like, we need to have a family Bible study. And all of a sudden it was like this record scratch, like disruption to everybody's life.
Record scratch.
Really all of a sudden.
I know exactly what you're saying, but people today the young people don't know what a record scratch is. That's what I mean. That's the record. It wasn't even a CD and cassette tape, and it was an annoying sound, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just disruptive, right? Yeah. And obviously as a kid, it's like we knew, Bible study was good and, all that kind of stuff, but it's like when it didn't always. My dad was a preacher, and so he would preach to us, and it's like, well, I can hear you preach to all of us,
Yeah, and it's all of you.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, that was just one of those. And we did have our family Bible studies, but we also, like, I didn't want this to be like an intellectual exercise for them or a matter of like doctrine necessarily, but right hearts that
Right.
just live with God.
So when did this picture of them living in the trees, did they spend an afternoon out in the trees?
So the tree, living in the
Yeah.
tree was Jane's idea.
Oh, what a great idea.
I part of my parenting style was to let them explore all of their world as safely as possible. And so that she was captivated by the fact that there were people who lived outside. And because she was a child, we used to camp as a family a lot. And so she would there was a part of her that was like, oh, it's like camping, how fun, And
camping in the city.
yeah. And so one day she was like, Mom, I'm just gonna live outside today. Don't, I'm just gonna see what it's like, like don't bug me. I'm just gonna do this. And I was like, all right.
Good. Yeah.
So she gathered up, her stuff that she felt like she would need, some snacks and some activities and her dolls and some blankets, And that was in our yard. And she went out and she just lived in the trees in our yard for a day. And Joe went out and joined her, and I just let her be, let her figure it out. And was just like, like, tell me what you learned, kind of thing. And one thing she learned is that she got kind of bored.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then that she couldn't like just run inside to go to the bathroom.
Oh, wow. There's a real awakening, isn't it?
Yeah. And some things like that. So it was like, and obviously I didn't just like, no, just suffer, she was a child, but like I did let her feel what that felt like, on her level. And that was eye-opening for both of them, and then at that night at dinner, I remember her saying like, oh, she's a little dramatic. And she was like, oh, it just feels so wonderful to be inside. She's like 8 or 9, but she was, but like it made an impression on her.
Oh, it did.
It made her appreciate like, hey, I can come in and eat with my family when I want to, and I can, use the bathroom when I want to. And bedtime, I told her she could sleep out there if she wanted to because it was summertime. But bedtime, she decided she'd had enough of that and she wanted to sleep in her own bed.
Wow.
And that's okay too, right? Because she has a bed and she should be grateful for her. Yeah. So that was just yeah. And so like I did take a picture of that. There's you had asked for pictures, and like a lot of times I didn't take pictures of things specifically because it wasn't like a special memory or a moment. It was just life, And so, but that was hilarious to me. The two of them sitting out in the trees and like,
well, it's precious when I saw it and you had the caption living in a tree. I know that, I had kids that wanted to be outside all the time, which I think is perfect for kids. They need to be, get the wiggles out and do that, be in nature, get the bug bites, all of those things that happen in nature. But I love it that it was Jane's idea. Hey, this is what I want to do. And so that she was, however dramatic and emotional she was living it. And that was more than just playtime. She was thinking and concentrating. You can tell by what she was asking him, what would this be like? Which is probably why she's the strong, independent woman of 21 that she is today. And that going and making food and giving food is what is her, I don't know if I'd say stress reliever, but it makes her, she knows she's doing something good. Because I think we all struggle with that. You can only push paper so long in your job, whatever. I want results. And that's instant results, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think she'll be 22 tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Jane.
Yeah. I can't believe it. Like, how do I have a 22-year-old kid?
So fast.
But she was one who always wanted to know what it was like for other people. Like, which for both positive and negative, like when she first went to kindergarten, she didn't whine. I would always tell my kids, like, I can't hear whining. I can't hear you. Like, what are you saying? Like, and so my kids didn't whine. And or they tried to, and then
shut that down.
Not. But then she went to school, and like, kids whine. Like, that's just part. I whine, and like that. So she would come home, and like she would like adopt people's speech patterns and things like that. And I'd be like, which friend is that? And just stuff like that, because she just wanted to know. And it wasn't even like she was trying to be naughty, or she just wanted to know what it was like to inhabit other lives. She's still like that. And so that was really, we just directed that towards empathy. Because that can become conformity unchecked.
Yeah, truly it can.
And so instead we directed that towards empathy, because I think that was the other key component in our life, is we took very literally the, Christians are a peculiar people. We celebrate weird. Like, we love, be weird. Because when you choose to follow Jesus, you're going to be weird, not only among your peers out in the world, but sometimes among your peers in the church too. And like, you have to know what you believe, and you have to know why you're doing it, and you have to be okay to be a little bit weird. And Jesus was weird, like all of his followers were weird. So don't sweat it.
That's what he was doing was very weird for those times, and anti-cultural and anti-everything. Yeah.
Well, and it's weird for these times too, honestly. Like, it's weird for all time, because what we're doing is trying to operate in the kingdom in a fallen world, and it's two different ways of seeing.
Yeah.
And so that was especially into the teen years, like that was really important to me when they were small, to be able to lay that foundation. Here's why we do what we do. And it's not like we do this list of activities, it's not like our 5 acts of whatever. It was just like, we do these because we love God, and we do this because we show that we love God by how we love our neighbors. And
I like how you frame it and put it in perspective for the children. These aren't just random acts, but there's a reason for it.
Right. And I would explain that to them before they ever understood what I was talking about.
Right.
Like,
sure.
And then I was just talking to them as adults in the last couple of weeks, asking for their feedback on, what was it like from your child mind,
Oh, yeah.
How did that come across? And that was something that they had both said was like, it was just life, and it was fun,
Oh, it was fun. Oh, Suzanne, great job.
Well, it is fun. And that's the one thing I wish I could tell everybody is like, it's so fun to serve people in whatever vehicle you find to serve people. It is so much fun. Like, because you got God there with you. You get to meet new people. Like, you get you can serve with people, and we've met so many people, like-minded people, through all of this. A lot of their playmates, were friends that we met, that we volunteered together at school,
wow.
And stuff.
That's great.
So
that's great. And you've sent us a picture here of the kids selling bracelets that they made, and I love that, because I love it when they bring it down to their scale. Okay, what can I do? And bracelets are a great way to do it. And I love their little sign too, because if I read it correctly, it says help the homeless, and it says all monies go to charity. I love that they had that concept. We're not keeping any of this money. It isn't for us. And this is going to go help the homeless. This is the charity.
Mm-hmm.
And did they do that very often?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Really?
They were constantly up to something that, and that they, with the bracelets, that was like I don't remember if you remember the loom, magic loom.
Right.
They're like rubber bandy kind of things or whatever.
They're still making those.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. I've got
And so they
make them.
That's fantastic. I think that's such a great activity for little fingers. But that was just a summer afternoon and they were bored. And so they just decided to do that in our front yard. And they made, I think, like $30 or something off of
Wow.
it,
Wow.
So
wow.
They were
and
pretty
then
excited.
You took them to the store to buy the food to give to them.
Yeah.
Right. So they saw the whole progression.
Yeah. The bracelets were for blessing bags. This is another thing for, I think, little kids, especially like young elementary kids, is like tactile, hands-on, project-based.
Yes.
And so I tried to find the picture for you. I couldn't find it, but we would go to the Dollar Tree, and they would decide, like after Jane's experience living in the woods, living in the tree all day, that was like, well, what are some things that you think you would like? Mm-hmm. That you didn't have while you were out there. And so it was like Band-Aids and hand sanitizer and protein bars and stuff like that. So we would go to the Dollar Tree and like take their money and then set up this assembly line. So we would just go down and fill the bags, and then we would keep them in the car to hand out to people. Because the other thing is that a lot of people have an issue with just handing cash over to strangers, and understandably. And so this is a way that it's like, I can show you that I see you and I love you, and this might help you, or you can pass it along to someone else. And that's always what we say is like, I don't have any cash, but could you use this? And if not, do you know someone who can?
I know. I love the blessing bags. We get together with a group of people from church and we stuff the blessing bags and everybody takes them home. And actually Sunday, when we were just leaving church, there was a lady on the corner asking for help. And so we gave her one of the bags, and, she goes, oh, this is great. Because it had like Band-Aids, hand sanitizer, pair of socks, a water bottle, all of those type of just real, and then candy and crackers, crackers and cheese.
Yeah.
And so, but she was very appreciative because she had a hand that was bandaged at that time. So she zeroed in on the Band-Aids that were in there. She cut herself some way. So I'm a firm believer in the blessing bags and keeping them in your car, because it does put your kids on alert to look, like you taught your kids, look for ways that we can help. And sometimes I'm taking the grandkids out and they're upset that we didn't find anybody that day, as we went to Costco or wherever it was. And that's a wonderful mindset to have for us, but especially for our children, because they're not going to stay children long, are they?
Mm-mm. And, so in the car is another one of those times where they get bored, they fight with each other, they get cranky, they get hungry, whatever, And so I would just line them up between their car seats in the back and be like, let me know when you see someone.
Wow.
And, sometimes I'd let them eat the protein bar out of there if they got cranky,
Yeah.
I know. We all get cranky and hungry, and just things like that. So the blessing bags are great to make with the young kids, though, because they have ideas for what they want to put in them, what they would like, and stuff. And so I love that. But that's what the bracelets went to, was blessing bags, because they were just captivated by those for a while. They wanted to just make them all the time.
It was wonderful. Yeah. You get them where they're at, right? You get them where they're at and what they're doing.
It's a lot. Oh, go ahead. I was just saying, it's a lot of listening to them and hearing their thoughts, because I was frequently surprised as they were growing up by what they perceived and how they processed what they perceived.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was different from what I thought I perceived, and sometimes it was they would come up with these like great ideas, or crazy ideas. And
Yeah.
I one time outside of Fred Meyer, like I think I put this in my notes that Jean, the biggest fit she ever threw in a grocery store when she was about 9 years old is because there was an unhoused woman who had been in a car accident. She was recovering from major injuries on the sidewalk. She could barely walk. And so we stopped and talked to her and we prayed with her. And she was young. She was in her like early 20s. And we got her some food and, some things that she needed. And Jane was just insistent. She needs to come sleep at our house. It's going to be too cold for her.
Bless her. Oh, bless her.
And I said no. And because I was concerned for her, the woman's safety, because that is an awkward prospect to be like,
yeah,
hey, you want to come spend the night at my house? That just, I should have taken that risk though. In hindsight, I regret that I didn't listen to Jane, and we could have made up a bed on the couch. She could have taken a shower, and who knows where that would have led. And I don't think I did wrong by saying no, but I think I could have done better. But she just wailed. She just sat down on the ground and cried because I would not invite this woman to our home to spend the night. And I still think about that sometimes. And so, why didn't I? And to question myself, what kind of input have I had that makes me think it's not safe to ask her to come spend the night at our house?
Mm-hmm.
And so just
that's a hard call. That's a hard call.
Well, it is a hard call. It is.
Yeah. But what a wonderful thing it is for you to see in Jane at 9 years old, her heart. And that helps you nurture her even more, knowing that she had the heart that would be that compassionate, that say, of course, open your house. Of course, do these things. Yeah, it is a hard call. I was, my dad was a preacher, and we lived in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the church building was here, and the preacher's house was next to it, and it was right on Route 66. So we got a lot of people coming by at an early age. I saw that. And so mother always had deviled ham and tuna and things in the pantry and bread. And we just were they always wanted money. But, mom and dad would just explain to us the food is more important than the money because we don't know what's going to happen. And so I just remember so for years, I've always cashed, canned goods in my pantry just for things like that. And we have had situations where we've used them. But I think it's really good for children to see you aren't the only one in the world. And there are people who come across bad times. And then we had some that weren't. They just, wanted the money. But still, we were able to give them something, because you're going to be hungry and this is what we have. So I firmly believe that children need to be out of their sphere and see the world. Well, you've got the safety net at home because you do have that safety net at home and you can show them the hard things. I know I've had people say, oh, I come do that to my children. I go, you don't understand the blessings you're denying your child by not showing them or them not understanding at earlier ages than some people think their child can understand. But kids are smart and they pick up on things, and they pick up on if you're hiding things from them or sheltering them. And I had 2 kids that wanted to know all the time, what's going on? What is it? So you've just done such a great job with Jane and with Joe and with the community. And we honor you for the ladies' lunch. And so tell our listeners how we can help. Ladies Who Lunch? What can we do?
You can pray for us.
Great. We'll do that.
And we still go out every week. We've adjusted now. Because we've made contact with some members of our community who are housed but food insecure.
Mhm.
And so
because that happens too. People think,
Yes.
oh, well, they're in a house, they're fine. No. Especially with the rising prices of, eggs, how crazy they got just a few weeks ago. Milk, just the basics.
And that became more apparent because a lot homelessness is visible.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways it's an easy target because it is so visible and it is
right.
And we discovered in the course of doing this that there are a lot of other people in our community doing the exact same thing, that there are people who just show up with lunches and, and we have some just fantastic shelters in our community and some things like that. So around Christmas time, because around the holidays, everybody gets sentimental and wants to share. And I think that's wonderful. And so around the holidays, there's also this like glut of services for people.
Yes.
And so we were like, let's let people do that and we'll shift our focus. And so we focused on house people because it's a little harder to find people that way. And we still wanted low barrier, no paperwork, all that kind of stuff. So through my Buy Nothing group, met someone anyway. So pray for us as we shift, that we just see opportunities and take them when we see them. So that's how we started with the free little pantries. We have several families now that I do know where they live and I do know their names and things like that. That every week we have lunch and we swap recipes. One of the women offered to come sit with my mom. Like, it's just really wonderful, like this mutual community. We have a Substack that I write roughly weekly just to keep people to talk about.
It is a beautiful Substack too. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what a Substack was until I met because I was like, she's brought me into the 21st century, but I really enjoy her writing and I know you will too.
Oh, thank you.
And subscribe. I know when I joined, it's real easy just to sign up for $10 a month, right?
Yeah. And all of that goes toward lunches and harm reduction supplies. I forgot to bring it. We have hats and sweatshirts and stickers and stuff too. Like I have a beanie that says "Shine On My Loves" on it.
No kidding. How cute.
And, some things like that. And those are also available if people, because the idea is like, I want this lunch lady army. Wear your combat gear, like when you're out fighting a good fight, like shine on. And whatever we make from that goes right back into lunches. Like, so if people want to financially support, they can Venmo, they can Substack, they can, buy a hat or a sweatshirt or something. One of my favorite modes of support is when people get in touch and say, I love this so much. Here's what I started doing in my community.
Wow. Yes, that is the ultimate. That is the ultimate.
That's more precious than gold to me. That is just, I love that so much. I want to celebrate those people. I want to, because a lot of us have been, you don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. So we don't talk about the things that we do. And you had asked me about pitfalls when we first talked a few weeks ago. And that is one of them, is that sometimes we fall under criticism, like for tooting our own horns, and things like that. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And
that's not what it's about at all.
No, it's all glory goes to God. And really, I think the way people jump in and like by lifting up the people who are supporting this effort as well, that it's not just about us. We can't do this by ourselves. And we're standing, like, I'm standing on the backs of what my parents built,
Right.
Jean's standing, and I am standing on the backs of like all of these people I'd met throughout my whole, like you, Dana, like people that I meet that are like, hey, I see this need, let's fill it, and I mean, those are my heroes.
Well, I would love to see the map that we showed at the beginning just be filled with all your little shine on stars and I mean sunshines because there is a need everywhere we go, everywhere we go. That there are people who, especially now as our population is aging and many of them don't have families. It's an unbelievable statistic of how many people are aging without their children. Either their children had died or they never had children. And that's happened even within our own congregation. And so those people, when they become widowed, they have a tremendous disadvantage. And there are just so many places that we can, as my husband says, plug in. Plug in here, you need here. Everybody works together. But I so appreciate what you've done. And yes, I hope that all of our listeners today have learned so much more that they can do in their own community with their family, with their children, no matter the ages. You can strap that baby on your back, right? I know that you did. And you get out there and you work, right?
Yeah, it was Jane's first volunteer activity was when she was 7 months old.
7 months old. I knew it.
And
I knew it.
we
Because that's in you, Suzanne. It's in you. And that's what we're doing. So come on, tribe. We're all working this together. And if you do have questions, you can write to Suzanne. You can write to me at dana@thesacredview.com. And we'll get you connected to Suzanne. We'll try to help answer more questions, but we would love to come back in a year's time, Suzanne, and look at this map, and there's triple the amount of sunshine.
that would make me so happy.
It would. We would know. And if you would like to have a summer project for your kids to do to help feed the hungry are right here in America. They're in your backyard, right, Suzanne? They're everywhere, unfortunately, because evil walks the earth. And that's why these people are where they're at. And I just want to close. I opened with some of Suzanne's words. She doesn't know I'm going to do this. And I'm going to close. And this is from her Substack. So you got to join the Substack. You're putting out some good stuff. And she's got the words are in front of chickens, which I love chickens. So I think that that's a great visual. And it's called Love and War. Lunch ladies, rise up. This is so important. You are not powerless. Love is not powerless. Love is truly the greatest force we have at our disposal. And I've got receipts. Love that, Suzanne. And I love you. And thank you so much for coming today. And I hope you have a blessed day. And I hope all of our friends that are watching have a blessed day. And keep that in your heart and pray for what Suzanne and her family are trying to do to help those who need care. And maybe just a little bit of it seep into your life too. Have a nice day. Have a blessed day. We love you. Bye.